Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when this finds you. Hope you have a great day. Hope you're having a great day, or if you in for the evening, I hope you had a great day. I mentioned on the previous video that I wanted to talk about the titles and names of God, um, being we call God. And for years, you know, that's what I was brought up on, like all of you. God, God and Jesus, God and Jesus. And, over the years, I've heard many pastors say that if you call on God or you call on Jesus, they know you're talking to them. So it don't matter what you call them. And so I went with that thought process for a long time after I started kind of getting some awareness. And I said, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. Then I started thinking about my own name. I said, well, how do I feel about my name being changed? And I've mentioned to you on prior videos that I was never okay with it. And it was my mother and my stepfather who made that decision without consulting me. And I actually did some research on my own and found out because of the age I was at the time, they were actually supposed to get my consent before that was done legally. And but they're both gone now, and it is what it is at this point. But I'm still not happy with them changing my name. And I know some of you out there might say, well, it's no big deal. Well, it might not be to you because your name wasn't changed. How many women have we seen before who were married, got a divorce, and then changed their name back to their maiden name? So changing somebody's name is a big deal, whether you want to admit it or not. Just because yours wasn't changed, you know, and it doesn't bother you, until something impacts you directly, you really don't have a say in how something operates. And before I get started here, I'm just going to ask you, if you're not subscribed to the channel, to go ahead and subscribe. If you don't, click for notifications. Go ahead and click the little bell at the top right so you can get notifications when new videos come out. I try to upload every Monday morning around 6:30. And heading into the new year, I'm not sure if I'm going to upload that often on this platform anymore, because I'm going to be honest with you, it's just becoming a little too oppressive to me. And not just me, but many others. There's no ad revenue on the channel, which is how a lot of creators make money. And they said I stole all my content from other channels. I'm still searching for those channels. And they said I could reapply for monetization if I went back through and agreed to all the things they had put in place for me. Well, I didn't even go through and read the things they put in place for me because I wasn't interested, you know? And so, not sure. I have other accounts on other channels. Odyssey is the only other one I upload to at this point. But I have a Brighteon account. I have a Rumble account. I have a Vimeo account. And so I'm not sure which direction I'm gonna head as of yet. But just to let you know what my plans are for the future. And when I do make the transition, I hope and pray that you decide to come with me. But if not, no big. I'm not gonna lose any sleep. But I want to talk about how we address our Creator. Every religion has a name for their God, except Christianity. Well, yeah, Christianity claims to be the religion of our God, but ironically, our Creator doesn't even deal in religion. Buddhism has a God they call Buddha. Hinduism has a god called Shiva. Orthodox Jews call their god Hashem. Sikhs call their god Akar Marat. Muslims call their gods Allah. And there are many more religions and many more gods, but you get the point. Every other religion calls their God by his name. And here are Christians calling theirs just generic God. Even though you're reading the Bible, how do you know if you're calling on the true Father, especially if you've been learning the wrong stuff your entire Christian life? What if you've been praying to another entity thinking you were calling on Yahuwah all these years? What if you've been calling on Demeter or Hypnos or Hades or Nemesis or Apollo or Zeus? What if you've been calling on Allah? What if you've been calling on Shiva? You get the picture. It can't be too far-fetched because we are speaking to a generic God. If you do any type of search on why we call him God instead of his name, the most obvious answer will be because we either don't know how to pronounce Hebrew or we don't really know what his name is. And if that's the case, how do we get to the point where we don't know how to pronounce it or we really don't know what it is? Atheists and agnostics didn't change his name. I can practically guarantee you that. How is it that every other religion can pronounce and remember their God's name, but Christians are apparently just too dumb to be able to do so? And that's not saying much of Christians. If our Father is Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, if he's all knowing, he's all encompassing, he can't make mistakes, he can't lie, do you think he would give us a name that wasn't important, that we couldn't understand or we couldn't pronounce? Come on, people. Isn't our Creator better than that? Do you have a Bible dictionary and Bible concordance? And if not, I would suggest you get one. Guess what Exodus 20:7 says? You do not bring the name of Yahuwah your Elohim to naught, because Yahuwah does not leave the one unpunished who brings his name to ruin. Now, our modern Bible say a little something different. Don't take the Lord's name in vain, I believe is how it goes. But centuries ago, some folks figured since they were not to take his name in vain, they wouldn't address him by his name at all. And they believed in doing that, they had actually protected themselves. There was a group of scribes called the Masorets, or Masorets, and they were the first ones to change some pronunciations. Masorets were called masters of the tradition. They're the ones who first added vowels to his name. Then once the Bible made its way through Germany, they changed it again. Then Greeks also had a hand in changing the Hebrew name of the Father in the Hebrew text of the Bible. So we replaced the Father's name with a title. Let me ask a question. If you were in a room full of people and someone wanted to get your attention, would you answer to Sir, Mr., Madam, or would you answer to your name? Calling the Father God is flat out disrespectful to him and his name. Most people call me Myron. Some people who've known me since before the last name change still call me LeBone. Some people call me Jones. Some people call me Mr. Jones. Some people call me Mr. Myron. Guess which name is more personal? Myron. But it's only personal for me to people who know me. If you call my home phone and ask for me or my wife by our first name, and neither one of us know you, I will ask you directly, do you know me personally? Do you know my wife personally? If you say no, I will respond and I will say, the reason I asked you that is because you acted like we had a previous relationship, and then I will hang the phone up in your face. Now, for the ones who always call me LeBone before the name change, I will always be LeBone to them. You know why? Because those guys have been calling me LeBone years before the name change. And for those guys, Jones only came into being 2 years before we graduated high school and we went our separate ways. So in their minds, I'm still LeBone. Their experience with me as LeBone was longer than with Jones. So if my classmates, my teammates, and my friends still remember my birth name all these years later, why is it so hard for us to call our Father by his name? James 4:8 says, draw near to Elohim, and he shall draw near to you. Now, if he tells us to draw near to him and he shall draw near to us, how can we draw near to each other if we refuse to address him by his name? The entire Bible is about relationship, but we don't have a relationship with people we don't personally know. Jeremiah 33 and 3, I believe it's Jeremiah 33 and 3 says, call unto me, and I shall answer you and show you great and uh, inaccessible matters, I believe, which you have not known. Um, I didn't write that one down, and I was just thinking about that one. I know in Jeremiah 3 and 17, it says, Yahuwah your Elohim is in your midst, and he's mighty to save. He rejoices over you with joy. He is silent in his love. He rejoices over you with singing. John 17 and 3 says, and this is everlasting life, that they should know you, the only true Elohim. Now, how important is the Father's name to him since we think generic God is okay? Well, I'm going to give you some scriptures to show you how important his name is. And I hope you got some pen and paper so you can fact check me to understand that I'm really not trying to lie to you or anything. I want you to go to your Bible. And I'm probably reading a different version than most of you, but I guarantee if you go to the Bible, it's going to say something similar. 1 Kings 8:33 says, when your people Yasharel be smitten down before the enemy, because they have sinned against you, and shall turn again to you, and confess your name, and pray, and make supplication unto you in this house. How can you confess his name? He can't, God ain't his name. So who you confessing to? What name are you confessing? Exodus 3:13 reads, and Moshe said to Elohim, Moshe is Moses, see, when I come to the children of Yasharel and say to them, the Elohim of your fathers has sent me to you, and they say to me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? John 5:43 says, I have come in my Father's name. I'm going to have to read that again because the second half of that sentence is important. I have come in my Father's name, and you do not receive me. If another comes in his own name, him you would receive. Notice it doesn't say he came in God's name. It said he came in his Father's name. Psalm 145:21 says, my mouth speaks the praise of Yahuwah, and let all flesh bless his set apart name forever and ever. I believe this might be in First Kings, might be back in First Kings chapter 8, maybe verse 35. I don't know. I lost it, but when heaven is shut up and there's no rain because they have sinned against you, if they pray toward this place and confess your name and turn from their sin when you afflict them. Psalm 99:6 states, and if your people Yasharel are smitten before an enemy because they have sinned against you, and they shall turn back and confess your name, and pray and make supplication before you in this house. Romans 9:17 says, for this same purpose I have raised you up to show my power in you, and that my name be declared in all the earth. Over in Hebrews 2:12 it reads, that I shall announce your name to my brothers. In the midst of the congregation I shall sing praise to you. Malachi 1:6 says, a son esteems his father, and a servant his master. And if I am the father, where is my esteem? And if I am a master, where is my fear? Said Yahuwah of hosts to you priests who despise my name. But you ask, in what way have we despised your name? Aren't we called his children? Psalm 34:3 reads, oh, magnify Yahuwah with me, and let us exalt his name together. Psalm 106:47 reads, save us, O Yahuwah, our Elohim, and gather us from among the Gentiles, to give thanks to your set apart name, and to result in your praise. First Chronicles 16:8. And verse 10, that's 8 and 10. First Chronicles 16:8 and 10. Give thanks to Yahuwah, call upon his name, make known his deeds among the peoples, boast in his set apart name. Let the hearts of those seeking Yahuwah rejoice. Psalm 86:9. Let all nations you have made come and bow themselves before you, O Yahuwah, and give esteem to your name. Verse 12 says, I will praise you, O Yahuwah, my Elohim, with all my heart, and esteem your name forever. Psalm 66:2 says, sing out the splendor of his name, make his praise esteemed. And verse 4 states, all the earth bow to you, they sing praises to you, they praise your name. Psalm 5:11 reads, but let all who take refuge in you rejoice. Let them ever shout for joy, because you shelter them. And let those who love your name exult in you. Psalm 69:36. And the seed of his servants inherit it, and those who love his name dwell in it. Isaiah 56:6. Also the sons of the foreigner who join themselves to Yahuwah to serve him and to love the name of Yahuwah, to be his servants, all who guard the Sabbath and not profane it, and hold fast to my covenant. And y'all know, all y'all know the Sabbath ain't Sunday, but you can't break away from your churchianity and start observing the Sabbath on Saturday like it's supposed to be, Friday night to Saturday like it's supposed to be. Because you're over churched. You're worshiping the sun on Sundays. That's why it's called Sunday. Psalm 69:30. I praise the name of Elohim. I praise the name of Elohim with a song, and I make him great with thanksgiving. Second Chronicles 2:1. And Shalomah gave word to build a house for the name of Yahuwah, and a house for his reign. And verse 4 says, see, I am building a house for the name of Yahuwah, my Elohim, to set it apart to him, to burn before him sweet incense, and for the continual showbread, and for the burnt offerings morning and evening, on the Sabbaths, and on the new moons, and on the appointed times of Yahuwah, our Elohim. This is Yasharel forever. Forever. Y'all remember the movie Temptations? You said Temptations forever. His name is forever. Isaiah 12:4 states, and in that day you shall say, praise Yahuwah, call upon his name. Make known his deeds among the peoples. Make mention that his name is exalted. Isaiah 26:13 reads, O Yahuwah, our Elohim, other masters besides you have had rule over us. Only in you do we make mention of your name. 2 Samuel 2:50. Therefore I give thanks to you, O Yahuwah, among nations, and I sing praise to your name. Psalm 148:5. Let them praise the name of Yahuwah, for he commanded and they were created. Psalm 148:13. Let them praise the name of Yahuwah, for his name alone is exalted. His splendor is above the earth and heavens. Deuteronomy 12:3. Well, not 32:3. Sorry about that. Because I will publish the name of Yahuwah. Ascribe greatness unto our Elohim. That means we should be making his name public. But all we making public is God. We making public a title. We're not making public his name. We're not teaching his name. We're not addressing him by his name. That's just like when you're talking to God, you might as well say, Mr. Because God is a title, Mr. is a title. Just call him Mr. Since you're disrespecting anyway, and I'm not saying just you, because I did it for years too, because that's what I was taught. That's what practically every one of our Bibles say. God. Exodus 3:15, and Elohim said further to Moses, thus you are to say to the children of Yasharel, Israel, Yahuwah Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzchak, Isaac, and the Elohim of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever. And this is my remembrance to all generations. Did you hear that? He said, this is my name forever. Forever means forever. Since we are calling him God, has forever ended? And he said, all generations. All generations. Psalm 45:17 says, I cause your name to be remembered in all generations. Therefore, the people praise you forever and ever. Now, if his name is to be remembered for all generations, that means we should be calling him Yahuwah. Because what does the word all mean? All means all. Psalm 9:2 declares, rejoice and exalt in you. I sing praise to your name, O Most High. Psalm 116:13 reads, I lift up the cup of deliverance and call upon the name of Yahuwah. Verse 17 says, I bring you a slaughtering of thanksgiving and call upon the name of Yahuwah. Malachi 3:16 says, then shall those who fear Yahuwah speak to one another, and Yahuwah listen and hear, and a book of remembrance be written before him of those who fear Yahuwah and those who think upon his name. Isaiah 50:10 states, who among you is fearing Yahuwah, obeying the voice of his servant that has walked in the darkness and has no light? Let him trust in the name of Yahuwah and lean upon his Elohim. Now, Isaiah 56:5 states, and I say this one for last on purpose, and when I read it, you should understand why. To them I shall give in my house and within my walls a place and a name better than that of sons and daughters. I give them an everlasting name that is not cut off. I give them an everlasting name that is not cut off. So if we're not addressing him by his name, that means somebody cut it off from us. Could it be that many of our prayers have fallen on deaf ears because we've been praying to God through a made-up character called Jesus instead of calling up on Yahuwah through his son Yahusha? Could it be that the Father ain't really heard anything we ask of him? I mean, yeah, he does understand that we've been manipulated, misdirected, and led astray, and that's probably why he's answered some of our prayers. But how long do you think he's going to bless ignorance? It's one thing to not know and do things in error. It's another thing to not know and still decide not to find out. Then it's another thing to find out and still choose to do what you've always done. How have all of these men of the cloth gone and learned at seminaries, and not one of them has studied enough of this to break the yoke of Gentile oppression of the Bible? For me, now that I have these other Bibles, it's made very difficult for me to read the Bibles I had before, even the King James. I mean, I still use them as a reference, but I don't use them for my regular study anymore. What does Matthew 15, 13, and 14 say? But he answering said, every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted shall be uprooted. Leave them alone. They are blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind leads the blind, both shall fall into a ditch. How is the Bible, how is it the Bible has all of these references to the name of the Father and how we should call on it, how we should praise it, how we should honor it, how we should love it, how we should exalt it, how we should build a house to it, how we should confess it, how we should esteem it, how we should declare it, how we should announce it. And somewhere along the way, somebody said, nah, forget that. Let's just call him God. Somebody got to answer for that. See, we call a man in charge of the Catholic Church the Pope, whatever name it is at the time of whatever Pope it is. We call a man in the pulpits of the Catholic Church Father, whatever his name is at the time, because they move throughout different dioceses. Uh, we call a man in the Christian pulpits pastor or reverend, whatever their name is at the time. And the reason I say at the time is because they also move around in different churches, and as well as priests move around in different parishes, and the Pope gets replaced periodically. But we call our Creator just God. We don't even say Yahuwah God. We don't say Yahweh God. He is just God. We give more respect and honor to men than we do our Creator. Think about that. Every man that's supposed to represent our Creator gets addressed by his name. But our Creator is just referenced as generic God. We even address Greek gods by their actual names. We don't call Zeus God. We don't call Ares God. We don't call Apollo God. We call them by their names. Why is our Creator placed in this generic box? How many of us would answer if somebody called us a generic title? What if someone came up to me and said, "Hey, Black, how you doing?" You think I'm going to answer to that? Nope. Talk to you later.